Victoria Dennis alongside Meg Burgdorf. We are all things beach volleyball, and it is the top of the calendar year.
Happy New Year!
With that being said, we're rolling into 2024, and boy, what do we got in store? Right now we're talking all things AVP, or at least what we think is happening with the AVP. I mean, we're all kind of in the dark here. That's everyone from our moms to our neighbors to the athletes to the helicopter parents that are all wondering what the heck is happening with the AVP in 2024.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of crickets here and there. We do know a few things. So, new ownership. So, Bally's is in year 2. I've heard it's 49% of the responsibilities, 51% to a new company. New COO in charge, Bobby Corvina. He's met with a lot of the top athletes. They really like his thinking, fresh ideas, where things are going, but still a little hush-hush. We don't know a whole lot of things. They have mentioned that there's going to be 4 heritage events. Those are those classic big Gold Series events that we had around the country. I know that Miami was on the list. I've heard rumors recently Miami's being cut. There's no Hermosa this year, so that kind of leaves Chicago and MBO most likely to be held on their same weekends, the same dates as before. So that's kind of different. And then it shifts into the Olympics, and then post-Olympic is that new league structure. So we have pre-Olympic AVP, not really sure what that looks like, when it's kicking off, what it is for all levels of athletes. We used to have the Pro Series, the Tour Series, the next series, and the juniors. Then those Olympics come in, and then post-Olympics, we turn into that AVP league. So let's think about the pre-Olympic wave. What does that mean for an athlete when you don't really know what's happening?
Right. It's interesting. I was able to talk with a few athletes, literally running into them in the grocery store randomly, but it's hard to prep, right? I mean, as a coach, you know what it takes in the preparation, what it's like to peak at the right time. What conditioning do I need to do? I constantly feel like I have to stay ready as a beach volleyball athlete. And that's kind of hard, right? Because you can't do that 24/7 year round. So it's funny, like, not funny, but it's interesting to see how it will play out for the athletes because they need to start prepping. Where do they put their money? You know, we pinch pennies here in this sport, and you have to know, okay, when do I want to start paying for a trainer? When do I pay to keep my body in line? When do I pay for, not all the Chick-fil-A meals, and maybe I'm investing in my health a little bit more leading up. So it's interesting, and we'll see how that plays an effect for the athletes.
For sure. And on the coaching side, it's very hard to, have that athlete management and that routine and that planning because, typically 6 to 8 weeks is your lead in to your first event. And right now, typically on the sands of Hermosa Beach in Manhattan, they're covered with all the pro athletes coming out, getting their training. And it's been a little bit quiet out there. People aren't really sure, do they invest in that amount of training in advance? I think some athletes have also stepped aside and said, hang on, I've got to get a job and I can't really afford this kind of a hobby lifestyle, almost playing and competing without knowing that competitive date. I think a lot of the top athletes that aren't in that Olympic chase are also considering, do I go play international? Those dates are already posted on Volleyball World for the Elite 16, the Challengers, and those futures. So thinking about planning that spring season on the World Tour versus domestically is a big change for American athletes.
Right, and it's that shuffle around of, okay, what am I investing in? Let's start scheduling it out. So it'll be interesting, and there's a draft as well, right, Meg?
Yeah, so apparently AVP says it's being hosted in Manhattan Beach. I would guess at least a minimum of a month out. So that league season is supposed to start September and run through November. So we all know Olympics go July to August. So I would guess that the draft has to be at least in July, if not in June or May, to really give enough lead-in time for a whole new league structure, branding, marketing, buy-in. And we don't know what that draft's going to look like.
It's like, can we just sign up? Like, can the lady next door just, show up and be like, I want to play beach volleyball? Or does it come down to points from years previous? Or do you just throw everybody in a hat? Is there a combine, like an NFL combine? What's happening with the draft? How is it structured?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of athletes, I mean, if you look at it, that's 16 men and 16 women being drafted into the new franchise league model. That leaves a lot of teams, 16 in particular, out. That would have been in the 32 team main draw. So are the heritage events results for those going to be indicators? What do you do with those World Tour athletes that are out, on the Olympic race, and how do they drop in? Is it even domestic athletes or is it international athletes? That's yet to be determined as well, what the salary is. So that draft concept, I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it works for other sports really, really well. But it'd be really interesting because now, like as a coach, tons of athletes are saying, hey, what's going on? How do I prepare? What is my timeline? Because like you said, there's a lot to go into. And I think at a minimum, a 2-month athlete preparation. I know the AVP always is trying to be fresh and creative and innovative, but in doing so, sometimes it lands in athletes with only 2 weeks to prepare with either a new ball, a new format, a change of rules. And that's not the best, I think, that we can give to our athletes leading into it. It does leave the door open for what happens to the AVP next, and those juniors that want to make that jump, like where is their tour? What are their events to compete for? I'm sure some of those events across the country are still going to roll over, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to wait and find out with everybody else.
We do know there's a draft. And then the league breaks off into 8 cities. Super, super cool how they've done it. LA, San Diego, New York, Brooklyn, Miami, Palm Beach, and Dallas and Austin. Very intentional design from my perspective, that you have that rivalry within a city or state or a geographic region. And beach volleyball needs to grow fansmanship. It's a big push to really grow a culture, not just of beach volleyball fans, but other sports fans. And it's very similar. You have the pregame or the regular season, and the postseason play. It's very similar to our other traditional sports here in the United States.
It is, exactly. And you have that same concept of playing against your competitors in the city that you're in, or your new rivalries, right? So you just gave off the list. We can see that 2 of the teams, they're all in one state, right? So there's 2 in California, 2 in Texas, 2 in Florida,
and 2
in New York. So now you have a crosstown rivalry, which could be fun to play with. So they can really lean into that marketing side of it as well. So it will be interesting. It's kind of looking more like international indoor volleyball, where, for example, if you go play in Korea, you go to the tryout and then you get drafted onto a team in a city, and now those cities play each other. So is it a similar structure? We'll have to wait and see, but the idea is there.
Yeah, and in the league season, there's 1 men's team and 1 women's team. So only 4 athletes for a city or for their team to compete. So it's going to be a tight draft. And it'll be interesting to see post-Olympics too, what athletes that have gone through that Olympic wave would like to carry over and be a part of that new city structure.
Right, exactly. Maybe the athletes that are coming home from Paris are saying, you know what, I think we're good. I think we're just going to hang out for a second. But who knows, right? It's all hearsay at this point. So
yeah, and I think 2024 is going to be a little bit more of an international focus. We have the Olympics coming, of course, but I think there's going to be this new fresh wave. We have a lot of athletes graduating from college. So from that college game, you had the COVID clog in recruiting and going through the universities. Well, this is kind of the end of that. So a lot of graduating seniors and master's student athletes coming out of the women's collegiate side for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
we shall see.
We shall see. Lots of moving parts.
Lots of moving parts. Lots of crickets. But hey, we're in it together. And one thing's for sure, we all have a passion and love for this sport.
Yeah, and I'm really excited. Let's shake it up. Let's see what's out there. I love the franchise idea. I think it works really well in a lot of the other sports. And I think new fans can really understand a city playing a city. Now, do those athletes live here? Do they live in their city? What does that look like? Again, to be confirmed, but really exciting.
Yeah. And that's about it for the AVP.
Yep.
As far as we know. So make sure to like and subscribe. More stuff and fun events coming your way. As we get this information, we'll make sure to throw it out to all of you guys from us here at Manhattan Beach Studios. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.
And good luck to the AVP.
Boom, boom, make that